It's not fat these offensive linemen have.
No,
They are
it's not.
shredded and yoked.
Yes. Density.
It's a skill position.
Yeah.
We know that. You know that. This morning yesterday on Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports, Perloff, former McLovin of the Dan Patrick Show, left the Dan Patrick Show to start Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Network. Maggie, formerly of The Fan in New York.
Yeah, of Maggie and the Moose.
Maggie and the Moose, they come together for a daily show. Maggie had a take on offensive linemen that went as such. One good thing about offensive linemen, this is regarding Tyron Smith, left tackle, who had his hamstring get ripped off the bone, and he'll be out until at least December or something like that. She said, one good thing about offensive linemen when replacing them, it doesn't take you a long time to get acclimated. You're pushing guys around.
Okay.
I really think an O-lineman doesn't need a month to get acclimated to a new team. I think they only need a week or two. And I listened to the entire. It was wild what was being said.
Sure.
But I appreciated the fact that she was saying it because it gives us an opportunity to talk to this man. Friend of the show. We are massive fans of the founder of Man 101, Super Bowl champion, stallion of a man. Ladies and gentlemen, Stink Mark Schlereth. Yes! Why we love what happened with Maggie and Perloff. We watch that show on one of the TVs out here every single day.
Yep.
It's a very consistent show. I feel like it's on all the time. I'm not from New York, so I did not know who, the sports pope was for a long time. I had no idea who Chris Mad Dog Russo was. I did not know who Maggie was. But when I heard McLovin had left Dan Patrick to go do this show, I'm like, God damn, okay, this got to be a show. So now we are hearing about it for the first time. A lot of people are, because of the comment that was made by Maggie, who's been talking sports for a long time at a high level, and people need to remember that. There's a lot of meatheads and stooges out there that their immediate reaction upon hearing the name Maggie and then a sports take, they go, hey, shut up, Maggie. Like, that is just something that says she is great at a lot of things. Her offensive line take, though, couldn't have been more wrong. Stink. Why is this the case, you think, that people actually have this genuine thought about offensive linemen? Why do you think it isn't considered to be a sophisticated position like everywhere else? And why have we gotten to this point, you think, Stink?
Yeah. Well, I think number one, even coaches in the National Football League, like we always used to refer to ourselves as like this secret mushroom society. Like the head coach doesn't even know what we do. We just know. We're the only ones that know what we actually do. And it's kind of a secret. And so we always are at, and you know how this was when you were at practice, the O-linemen are down in one area of the field away from everybody else, like completely compartmentalized, like cows grazing over there, right? And nobody really knows what we do, and nobody really understands the skill that is involved in doing what we do. And so even when Nathaniel Hackett, the new head coach of the Denver Broncos, in his press conference, referred to his skill position players, man, I called him up and said, hey, bullshit. Like, the most skilled position in football is the offensive line. And here's what you have to understand. All five guys, if you want to be good, you can't be good individually unless all five of us are good together, unless we're all working in unison, five becoming one. And that's the beauty of it. Like, I've always loved this about offensive line play, is that all five guys have to be working in unison. And I always say, hey, all five of us can be doing the wrong thing. And if we're doing the wrong thing together, it's going to work out. We're going to be okay. But we have to be tied together. We have to work together. And it's the most unique position in football. And then the other thing I always say is, hey, everybody's an exceptional athlete. You play in the National Football League, you're an exceptional athlete. It doesn't matter what position you play, okay? But we are considered, or we are, as a group, in totality, the worst athletes on the football field.
I like that. Worse than the
no
punters?
question.
Worse than the punters, you think?
Yes.
Okay, good.
You guys are more athletic than the majority of us. You guys are more athletic than us. So we're the worst. We're the worst. And yet, I always find this fascinating, Pat, because you cover all sports and you're very versed and you're very knowledgeable. As is Maggie. This wasn't like dogging Maggie. This was just how people in general see playing offensive line. They just see girth. They just see size, and they think that that's all it is you're moving guys around. I would argue right now that Larry Allen, pound for pound, might be the best, most athletic player that's ever played in the National Football League. You would see guys that played against Larry Allen. Now, first off, 6'4", 335 pounds, probably ran the 4.7 40s, could slam dunk a basketball flat-footed and bench press 700 pounds. We used to refer to him as the landlord because he owned the fucking space between center and tackle. He owned that space. And I have seen multiple guys come down with a Larry Allen flu before they had to play against Larry Allen. Like, that was all of a sudden like, hey, man, I'm not feeling really good. I might have to sit this one out. That he was that dominant a football player and that dominant an athlete. But think about this. For the majority, like, I'm not talking about the outliers, but for the majority of us, every day that you play, you're lined up against a guy who's a better athlete than you. And name one other position where the guy who is the better athlete is the guy who's the worst athlete is expected to win 100% of the battles. So if I play you and you're a better athlete than me, and I win or whip your ass 65 out of 66 times, but you get one sack against me, I'm a piece of shit, and you go to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, but right? I'm celebrating too. I'm celebrating too.
Right. Well, you got grass stains on your freaking back of your jersey, and yet you're going to celebrate the sack, and that's all anybody will ever remember. Yeah. Like, that's why all offensive linemen live in this state of paranoia. Nothing good can happen to me as a player. Nothing. I hate Monday Night Football. I hate Sunday Night Football. I don't want to be in the spotlight. I want none of it because the only thing that can happen to me is bad. That's it. I mean, think, you win a game, you put 200 yards rushing up, you dominate, your quarterback doesn't get hit, and the only thing you are is a tagline at the end of the game. Hey, got to think the big fellas up front, those Hogs did great, now let's talk about me. Right? That's how they operate. So, you think about this. You cover the NBA, a point guard gets hooked up on a switch against Nikola Jokic, blows by him, lays it up. We don't say, hey, take Nikola Jokic out. He's a piece of shit. He's no good. No, you say it was a great switch. The better athlete got him. Like every other position, hey, man, when you're a supremely gifted tight end, the one-on-one coverage is not some D lineman that you're a better athlete. It's a safety. It's like athletes, corners and wide receivers, like athletes play against each other. That's how it works. An offensive line, you're playing against a more gifted athlete, and you're expected to win 100% of the battles. That's why it's the most skilled position in football. Leverage is created. Your ability, moving a man from point A to point B is skill and technique. It's leverage that you create. It's footwork. It's hand placement. It's hat placement. It's all those things. And you have got to be very versed at not only what you're doing, but what the guys beside you are doing so that you can work in unison together to be good.
Hey, we love what you just did right there. Yeah. That was awesome. I mean, you just, let's say positions were running for a political office, and they all had to get on a podium and talk about why their position fucking matters. What you just did right there, offensive lineman will win the position.
Yeah, that's right.
That was awesome. That was a great breakdown that I don't think I've ever heard before, and a lot of people haven't. And I think the perceived notion of offensive linemen just pushing guys around, Maggie said in there, which it is, ultimately, if you were to zoom out, it is pushing guys around. But the amount of muscle memory and everything and the work, I think you feel as if, as one of the only talking points for offensive linemen out there publicly, is like, hey, there's a lot of shit happening there that might just look mundane and we don't ever talk about. Let's go ahead and have some respect for that. With the Tyron Smith situation, I mean, he's a guy, 8-time Pro Bowler. Left tackle would be the position that you could kind of isolate, right? With the other four, still going to be a problem. Still everybody have to be on the same page, though, Stink?
Yeah. There's a little bit more out there. I used to call out there being in the water, as opposed to being in the concrete, especially with wide receivers. They're out there playing around in the water. Those guys are in the concrete. The left tackle position, even the right tackle today, different than in my day, right? Where you would have a right tackle that was just kind of a mauler, and you'd have a left tackle that could move, that was really, pretty gifted athlete. Now, with the way these teams are all in nickel, what you take a linebacker out, you bring in another cornerback, you really have this kind of NASCAR package where you're just rushing the passer. Both tackles now have to be pretty gifted. And there are some guys like Lane Johnson at the right tackle position is a gifted guy athletically, incredibly gifted. But the left tackle historically has been that one where you're facing the Dwight Freeneys. You played with Dwight Freeney. Absolute freak shows. These guys nowadays, it's not uncommon for these DNs to run 4.38, 4.4. It's in linebackers and things of that nature. So the game is just completely different, and you've got to be so gifted as an athlete. Let me see your set. This is a good. McAfee's got a pretty good set. He knows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, and then you got to change the setup, right? You can't be in the same spot all the time. Now you got to upkick a little bit, right? You got to be inside out.
I'm like Joe Tom. Hey,
change it up.
no, I'm like Joe Tom. I'm just trying to get to my spot. I'm just trying to get to my spot.
You're just trying to get to your spot.
Yeah, I'm just getting my.
Nice. Well, see, but that one was a longer set simply because you probably had a 9 technique versus a 5
Exactly,
technique. So
Steve.
boom, you had to get a little bit
Wide
deeper
9,
there.
actually.
So,
Every time I do this, nobody gives me credit.
One of the no, let me. All right, go ahead. Give me it.
Boom!
Oh yeah.
Did you see that? Huh?
That's called the take 2 principle right there. Push him out on the draw.
Of course.
Push him out on the draw. Bam! Climb, get the linebacker out, seal him inside. I mean, it's perfect technique. I tell you, here's the other thing. From just a pure pass protection standpoint, some of the things